Mad Max Fury Road is the fourth film in the Mad Max series. We haven't had a Mad Max film since Thunderdome, which was okay, and now it's decades later, and there were delays and delays and delays, and now we got this. So the film stars Tom Hardy as Mad Max and is directed by George Miller, the same man who brought you the Mad Max movies. So the premise of this movie is that Mad Max gets captured by a bunch of crazy people. He goes to this town ruled by a dictator, something big happens and Mad Max eventually escapes. He then meets this very strong badass woman named Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, and the mission is to get this truck full of sex slaves from this place to that place, while a bunch of enemies are after them. So it's a high-speed chase and it's... Okay, stop the music. I gotta be honest with you guys. How do I say this? If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, you can see that mostly everyone is loving this film to death, saying that it's the new thing and something like that. Now, you see the other 2% that is going the other way? Well, let's just say that I'm pretty much one of those 2%. Yeah, one of those 2%. I don't think it's good as everyone has said it. Now, it has been a while since this film has came out, and that is because I want everyone to have a good time. I didn't want to post this review early because I didn't want to put anyone down. I want everyone to have a fun time of your lives before being reminded of this review you saw on the internet. And now it has been a while, so if you have seen the film or haven't seen the film, you are watching a video of a man who basically has a different mind of his own. And as a result, I didn't really like the film as much. I just didn't feel like it was the same as the old Mad Max films. Now, before I say anything, I'm going to talk about the positive things about this film. So now, let's go back to the old Mad Max films. Now, these films were simple, and the action was cool. And that is the main reason why we see these films. The action. And the only thing that we know is that it's dystopian Australia, and it's corruption everywhere. And we got Mad Max wandering the place, putting things in order. And now we cut to 30 years later since the last movie, and my god, this is actually the big balls version of Mad Max. Years pass and this dystopian world is much more darker and more grittier, and more frightening. It's not the same old, and George Miller was able to take those 3 movies and convert it to something really dark like we see in every single film that we see today. But the most important thing about the film is the action. It's bloody ridiculous. The camera work of these action scenes are really damn impressive. Now, unlike me, this is the type of movies that you really gotta see in theaters. Especially in an AVX theater. The visual aspect, the sound, it's wonderful. You got explosions everywhere. People are jumping from cars, stunts, a man playing a guitar while all this is going on, and the guitar is spewing with flames. It's freaking crazy. It's over the top. Now, the first action sequence made my head explode, and things calmed down. But the action starts up again. So the vast majority of the film is littered with action, keeping you entertained because it's Mad Max, and it's the cornerstone of the trilogy. Action, the car chase. But it's not just the action, but it's the way it's visually shot. Now, let's take a film like Furious 7 for example. Now, Furious 7 is a really great action film, and you feel like it's all real, but once in a while you start to discover some green screen effects and other effects. But with this movie, you feel like that nothing is artificial. They have spent several days filming the action, and it's crafted really well. You got long shots of the explosions, the editing, the score. By the way, the score, holy jeez, it's fantastic. So pretty much, it's a crazy ass action film at its core. But then we come to the characters and the plot, which kind of ruins the film. Now, Tom Hardy in this film as Mad Max. First we had Mel Gibson and then Tom Hardy. The Dark Knight Rises, Locke, The Drop, and now this. So according to the backstory, they change it just a bit. He's having these hallucinations of people who he failed to save, and as a result, he has post-traumatic stress disorder. So pretty much he's a wounded animal and it's driving him mad. So in the film, he has to fight his demons and get back on feet. But the most focused person in the entire film is Charlize Theron. This is basically her story. Mad Max is just running around until he meets her. They both kick ass, but for the majority of the film, she does most of the ass kicking, and she has to fight this villain who looks like Vane with his mask, or Darth Vader. And not only that, she has these women with her, and some of them are elderly. And guess what? They kick ass too. Now, during the production, there were some concerns that they can't handle an action film like this one. But no, they were able to handle it. But, geez, a film that is named Mad Max Fury Road. Now, let me say this again. Mad Max Fury Road. There isn't much of Mad Max or Mad Max kicking ass in this film. This is literally Furiosa's film and her story, which is pretty bizarre. Now, let's say you are watching a James Bond film, but the vast majority of the film is this random person shooting people with his silent pistol instead of James Bond. Or how about a Batman film where the vast majority of the film is just Robin saving the day and having Batman just sitting around in the background? They should have called this film Furiosa, or Mad Furiosa, or Furiosa and Max, or The Mad. Oh wait, there's already a movie called The Mad. But the point that I'm trying to make is that this movie should have been off its own movie. If you're going to make a movie where Mad Max doesn't do much, and have other people fighting in battles, while Mad Max is limited, then why call it Mad Max in the first place? It's about Charlize Theron. Let her have her own movie. Instead of Mad Max, let it be some random person or something. And let her have her own sequels. By the way, there's going to be a couple of sequels to this movie. But anyways, the number one reason why this film suffers is what they did to Tom Hardy's character. Throughout the film, he doesn't do much of the talking, and he can't even shoot a gun properly until the very end. Now, I understand that this guy has some traumatic experience, but in the end of the film, you expect to see some big bang from him and show him more scenes of him kicking ass, but I just didn't get enough from him. There was even some scene where Mad Max wanted to kill a whole bunch of bad guys, and it was done off screen. What the hell, man? Can you ask me why? It just doesn't make any sense, and therefore it affects the whole movie. Now, Tom Hardy, you were okay, but I definitely like the Mel Gibson Mad Max over you. At least it reminded me that he is Mad Max. Tom Hardy, I just see you as another random person. Charlize Theron, she did okay. You see what she's going through, and you see why this mission is important to her. And as much as we got some great characters, I think they should add more development in some of them. With some of the characters, they are there, but you want to know more about them. And there were a few moments that are just over the top ludicrous. And then it comes to the plot where it could have more substance. Now, this is a spoiler, so plug your ears until the spoiler sign is gone. Now, the villains in this movie represents the captains of industry. Gas has been made, bullets are being made, and then you got a place where water is stored. In the end of the movie, after all the villains are dead, Furiosa opens the water floodgates so that everyone could have water, which is nice, but for some reason, it just doesn't feel right. In the start of the movie, the villains of the movie were giving civilians water, but only a limited amount of water. But we don't exactly know why they do this. We see it and we think, hey, let them have some water. But what if it's for a good cause? What if the villains are saving that water for a good cause? Now, in the end of the movie, the floodgates are open, and the only thing I could think of is what would happen in a week later when all that water reserves have been wasted and people are dying of thirst. Hello, this is a post-dystopian future, people, not heaven on earth. Now guys, you may be wondering to yourself, what is wrong with this guy? How dare he insult this masterpiece? Guys, there may be a time of your life when you come across something that everyone loves, but you just don't like. Watching this movie is like taking a pill. When a person takes a pill, they get a good reaction. But what if you were to take that pill and you got a bad reaction? That is this movie, and I just don't agree with the elements of this film, and I prefer the old Mad Max films. Now, let me give you an example with things like this. I know a couple of guys who hates the James Bond film, Skyfall, even though it was a film that got a big hit. I love that movie. What about The Dark Knight? I know a guy who hates the Dark Knight trilogy in general, and doesn't like Christopher Nolan and his movies, and rather see the Tim Burton Batman movies instead. And you just gotta ask that person, why? But it's just his opinion. I love Christopher Nolan's. I think his movies are awesome. I even liked his last film, Interstellar. But then it comes to a time where I see films like Mad Max Fury Road, and I turn the other way. Gentlemen, you do not need to love a film because this person says so. If you disagree with something, do not be afraid to let those feelings out, like I'm doing right now. And if you are planning to see this film, I can't stop you. And if you've seen it and if you loved it, good for you. The action is very great. The characters, some of the substance of the plot, a lot of work can be done, but oh well. George Miller was able to take the old franchise and modernize it to a whole new level. And it worked for everyone, but for me, I wasn't totally at that level I wanted. Now, I wasn't sure how I'm going to rate this movie, but to be fair, I'm going to keep this movie at the borderline. So, I'm going to give Mad Max Fury Road 5 explosions out of 10. Wow. So that is my review of Mad Max Fury Road. Thank you for watching. More reviews on the way.